Hey guys, what's up? Week 219. Actually recording on, if you guys don't know, I record these in advance, of course. So I record usually every Saturday morning. So you guys get the video on Wednesday, it goes live, and I record on Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon. This time I'm recording it Friday evening because I have work tomorrow and also have to record the Summer Series 2017 for Podcast Under the Stairs. So that's probably going to be a long recording. Let's hop into the reviews. The first one is from the MVD Rewind Collection. And I was waiting for this bad boy to come out. And I had seen the Electric Boogaloo documentary, I think it's called that, about Canon Films. And this one is the Go-Go Boys. And this is the inside story of Canon Films. That's right. So I guess what happened was once the Golan and Globus, the owners of Canon, or the guys who used to run Canon, kind of realized, is my understanding, that the Electric Boogaloo documentary about Canon Films was coming out, they kind of rushed and went ahead and made their own documentary. And this was around 2015, 2016 or something like that. And I think it might have screened for like festivals in 2018, maybe even earlier, to be honest. I think it might have been earlier than that, and probably giving false information. I feel like it might have even been 2015. So anyways, so this kind of starts off early, and it is, I don't want to say necessarily a vanity piece. It definitely looks at Golan and Globus with more rose-tinted glasses, but you have actual interviews with them and them talking about it, and you can gather their personality, and it tells you kind of the whole story of them rising up as these two kind of independent filmmakers in Israel, and how Globus gave his cousin Golem a chance, and this whole history of them, starting off with their films that were kind of hits in Israel, and Globus directing a lot of stuff too, like, what was it, the Lemon Popsicle Kids, which actually they remade as The Last American Virgin in America, which did very well. But it kind of starts off doing that story and going through the entire thing until eventually we get into the heart and soul of the movie, which is the Canon era stuff, them starting off making low budget pictures and building up and up and up, and of course just completely being these giant, behemoths in the movie industry, like a new company, which no one really had done for years. There's a great part you'll see in the trailer, but that Globus is like, the Go-Go Boys. He's like, they call them the Go-Go Boys because they're always making a movie. And he's like, go-go. It means go-go. And it's just like, I love that. Like, he's just, they're such characters, to be honest. Like, they're larger than life characters, and you don't hear the stuff that you heard in the Electric Boogaloo documentary about, Globus pulling out a gun and saying to the pilot on Delta Force and saying, you're making another round, flying the plane even though he's exhausted. So it's more like a lighthearted thing, but you start to see why they had their eventual collapse, of course. Everybody knows about Canon Films. And what I don't particularly care for about the other documentary is there's a lot of people on there being like, these movies are so ridiculous, or they're terrible, and yada, yada, yada. And yes, the thing is, like, they didn't get a lot of critical acclaim, but they eventually did when producing tons of movies like Runaway Train. But a lot of people are really, they'll laugh at some of the stuff, like the Chuck Norris and Charles Bronson movies, and most people that love movies, or most people that are renting movies, over time, they're going to be renting the Chuck Norris or Charles Bronson movies. They're going to remember the Chuck Norris or Charles Bronson movies. And I love stuff like that. I loved Canon Films growing up. Master Universe was one of my all-time favorite movies. And I know that doesn't necessarily make it a great movie, especially in, Academy Awards eyes or something like that. But these people made movies for the masses. They made lots of different kinds of movies, too. And they said there's actually a guy in here who works for one of the big studios, and he basically talking about it, and he knew them personally, and he mentions that the movie industry isn't a numbers game. You don't want the quantity. You need hits. It's a hits game. So they go into, of course, the over the top and stuff. They're kind of there at Superman 4. They're big kind of moments where they were actually SOL. And it's amazing to see the difference. Of course, they said Globus always spent more than a Golan could get, because we had the one that was more of the filmmaking aspect, just wanted to make film. That's all he ever wanted to do, produce and direct and just nonstop. And the other one who was more of the money guy and handled the business side of things. So in a way, it looks like the two of them together made this complete canon, and they needed to be together. And there's like, of course, a fallout for the story, and that's some of the saddest stuff for me. And there's this great moment where I don't want to spoil too much, but at the end they have stuff with them coming back together, and I thought that was the most touching stuff. Just seeing them sitting down together without spoiling too much. Like I said, I don't want to, but it was just. I know it's like fluffy in some ways, but like I said, it was enjoyable to see that, and a little bit of heartbreaking as well. Globus has since died. I think he died a few years back at age of 85. He was pretty high up there. But they moved on, and I don't think that they were completely poor or anything after that. I know that Golan was still doing good in business and stuff like that. But I enjoyed this doc. I'm a big fan of films in general, of course, and canon films. So seeing how some of these were made and behind the scenes, and seeing like a little bit of the other side with it too. So we kind of have this and Electric Boogaloo together. I think they probably make together like one of the best documentaries you could, seeing both sides of the story and everything like that. But I really enjoyed this one as well, and. They're characters, like they're such characters, and like seeing the archival stuff of them being interviewed and running, and how Globus like would never admit when there was a problem. We're fine. We just $328 million. It's gonna be all right. It's just I wish somebody like Canon Films was still around, to be honest, and Dino De Laurentiis. Like I said, I mentioned this a couple times. Nobody's gonna produce stuff like that. They said that a lot of the movie companies would like sell them the crummy scripts that no one wanted, and what it made was just a bunch of bonkers movies. Eli Roth has a little bit in here too, praising Canon Films, which was nice to see. Michael Dudikoff was in here. Jean-Claude Van Damme has a little bit in here too, talking about how he went to Globus. He's like, please, 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 and he said he like got on his knees. He's like, don't cry. And it's just like all that stuff like that. I don't know. They're characters, and as crazy as some of the stuff that they did they are endearing. They come off endearing in this, and like I said, some people would say it's more of a vanity thing or a piece, or maybe it's just a direct, obviously a direct, fire back at Electric Boogaloo, but still. I enjoyed seeing this part of the story as well. So that is the Go-Go Boys, the story of Canon Films, the inside story of Canon Films. So yeah. Okay, so the next one is an On Earth Films release, and this is by the late Ryan Nicholson, and this is Hanger, which I believe was his third feature film. And 2009 was a crazy time. Rewatching this, it had been years. Back when I started doing YouTube reviews, there was like a lot of extreme filmmakers that were making these crazy movies. I mean, Fred Vogel was like always being talked about on there, and Ryan Nicholson and Brian Paulin, and there was just a big focus on kind of the extreme films. And I had not watched a lot of them in a long time. I watched Gutterballs again recently, and Live Feed and stuff like that. So rewatching Ryan Nicholson's movies after it had been a long time. This one, Hanger, which is a bonkers movie, one of his grossest movies for sure, just was kind of like insane. Like I was watching this film. The plot is just absolutely bonkers and disgusting and repulsive. And so repulsive that I was just like, I can't believe this was made at the time. And then Jeremy walked in and I said something like that. And he said, well, you just watched Pink Flamingos from 1972. And that stuff is the same. It kind of has that same filth, insanity to it. So it was just in the early 2009 and 2013, 14, even 15, there was such an extreme movement in independent films, and even so much so that I even was in a couple Headless and Hunters, and Her Name Was Torment 2, I guess would be considered kind of on the extreme side of films. But Hanger, watching this kind of took me back a little bit of how insane some of them movies were, and how so on PC they were in comparison to a lot of movies nowadays. I mean, they're still being made, but I don't know if they get the focus or attention that Hanger did. So essentially what we have here is Debbie Rochon, classic scream queen here, and she's a prostitute who has this kind of semi relationship with Dan Ellis, who's a Ryan Nicholson regular. He also pops up in Marcus Cook's movie, The American Guinea Pig, his crazy one, Bloodshock. So basically they kind of have a relationship. She ends up getting pregnant, and her pimp obviously doesn't like that. So he gives her a coat hanger abortion, a forced one, in graphic detail. And the baby doesn't die. It ends up being kind of like deformed and mentally handicapped, possibly, has a lot of problems. It ends up growing up on the streets until Dan Ellis comes back to raise the kid, get him a job, take care of him, and everything like that, and basically lays out who he is. And he says he's his father and what happened, and he wants to get revenge on the pimp, and he needs his help. They call him Hanger because a botched coat hanger abortion. So this is the kind of movie we're dealing with, right? So I should mention Lloyd Kaufman does have a role in the very beginning as a trans prostitute or sex worker, which in itself is absolutely ridiculous. So the movie is so weird, and it does have this cartoon element. Like, I don't know how to explain it. If Dick Tracy was a focusing, if you were to take Dick Tracy and put it, like, set it in a slum area of town and make sure everybody got covered in the toxic waste from RoboCop that hit Emil. Like, I feel like that's what happened here. So we have this weird idea of all these characters that are wearing this excessive makeup, like Dan Hicks's nose, and then Hanger has his mutated face. And there's a lot of people from Gutterballs in this one as well. I think actually the person who plays Russell and the bully character and Hanger himself are pretty much the three of the main bullies. The three main bullies, not, I don't even say bullies, the three main horrible rapists who act like high school bullies in Gutterballs. So their makeup is absolutely ridiculous, and it's just they're so foul and so awful and so gross, and it's in this world of insanity where everybody's screaming and everybody doesn't value life, and it's a cartoon world of gross carnage and disgust. The character of Russell, he is playing this super stereotypical Asian character, and it's almost like they like put a bunch of makeup on his eyes, and it's just like, holy shit. Like, boy, man, 2009 was a wild time for indie movies, right? So it is grotesquely violent too. Like, there's a lot of gore, lots of nasty shit, and it's on a budget. But some of the stuff in here still makes me gag to my stomach, involving a tampon, a used tampon, and a colostomy bag hole. Like, I don't know how to say that, a colostomy hole. Honestly, there is lots of rape and degradation, but it's all comedy too. So it's just this bonkers, over the top, insane movie. It is so gross. I don't know how to say this, but I don't even want to say it was made at a certain time, because always extreme, crazy movies are made. But if you want to see how nuts some of those extreme movies were, and like the early aughts, or I mean like 2010, I don't even know what you'd call that, the teens or something like that. Hanger is one of the ones that I would throw on the table. Now, a lot of people are just going to be absolutely repulsed by it, or just not get the tone in it, because it is a weird tone. Nicholson had this weird tone where it was a lot of extreme, gross, serious subject matter, but then there'd be these off-color jokes that you're just like, wow, man, this is kind of a hard thing to juggle. Sometimes it falls flat on its face. Other times somebody might just burst out laughing hysterically from it. I found myself being repulsed watching it again, but that's kind of its intent. And I did enjoy Dan Hicks. I meant Dan Hicks is from Darkman. Sorry, Dan Ellis. And some of the stuff that comes out of these characters' mouth is bonkers. The makeup effects, I think, are some of Nicholson's best when he's working on his own. You know, he's a great special effects artist, right? But when you're on a budget, like, you don't have the means that he would on a big film or something like that. So I feel like Gutterballs and Hanger were probably his finest special effects work in his own movies. Like, towards the end, like some of the cheaper ones, like Dead Nude Girls or something, there really wasn't any special effects to speak of. This bad boy is loaded with so many features, I'm going to have to read them off to you. Commentary director Ryan Nicholson, behind the stoma, the making and taking of Hanger, enough dope to hang yourself with on set with Lloyd Kaufman, which is ridiculous and funny. Photo gallery, blooper reel, deleted scenes, black on white bread, colostomy bag edition. That I imagine is the one with the hardcore inserts, which I fast forward through to see, and there's one scene of hardcore inserts. Additional scenes, trailer, behind the scenes, and over 16 hours of additional extras. So that's the one problem with these On Earth things, and it's a positive. there's no way you can watch all 16 hours of this stuff, like of behind the scenes stuff. But if you were like a absolute Ryan Nicholson fanatic, then you could put it on and just check out 16 hours of behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's a loaded disc. I mean, this movie is made on a budget, so the picture quality is not going to be 4K aesthetic. Oh, I can't believe this Lawrence of Arabia stuff. You kind of can see what you're kind of getting here, and they work with the elements that they had. So I think that On Earth right now has already put out reissued Gutterballs, Live Feed, Torched, and Hanger. So I think we have Bleeding Lady, aka Star Vehicle, coming out, and possibly what are some other ones that are be coming out? I think that we're gonna get Gutterballs too eventually, and Big Fucking Monster. I think those are coming. So yeah, I think that we also had Famine come out from On Earth, so we've had that one as well. So anyways, if you're a Ryan Nicholson fan, he was a really friendly guy. Always talked to the fans and everything like that. And he had a very sad end with brain cancer and everything. So I feel kind of a bit of sadness every time I do watch one of his movies. But I do just remember a time watching him. It takes me back to that and stuff. So R.I.P. Ryan. I'll say that after every movie I watch from him. And check it out if you're big on Earth films or gross films or indie sleaze fest or extreme films like that when they were made. There's tons of them, like I said at that time. Then check out Hanger. It's one of the it's one of the ones with a lot of guts, metaphorically and whatever, and literally, and it's probably going to offend quite a bit of people. Okay, this is probably the most schizophrenic show like ever. Just this is how I always do. This has been my whole life. Like when I used to make CD mixes, and it would be like Blue Oyster Cult followed by Metallica, followed by like the theme music from The Good, the Bad, and Ugly by Ennio Morricone, Ecstasy of Gold, or something like that. So like I do that with my reviews too, I guess. So after to follow up Hanger, we're gonna hop into Hereditary. Now, Hereditary was one of the movies picked for the 2018 summer series. Now, as far as one of the main 2 or 3 movies picked, I don't 100%. I can't give you that information. But when I saw that Hereditary is one of the 12 movies, I was like, well, it's going to be picked. I'm going to watch it. I decided to rewatch it right away to try to get ahead because obviously Hereditary's got to be one of the 3, right? Just by its vast popularity. And I think that it has, a lot of praise from a big chunk of the horror crowd. So let me say this. I remember seeing Hereditary in theaters when it came out. And I walked out and I felt the same way as when I saw The Witch. I said, man, that was a strange film. I want to discuss it. And usually those movies end up being some of the better or the most critically acclaimed because they get you to think and they challenge you and everything like that. And Ari Aster's films are just like, I don't know how to put this. Like for me, anybody that's suffered from sudden loss of someone they love, and he captures it really well. Now, the first part of Hereditary is mostly this really dark, twisted family drama. And by the end of it, you realize that there is these supernatural, horrible things happening to this family on top of the tragedy. But when you realize all the setup in the beginning of the film, all the things that Toni Collette says about her life and about her past and about her mother and everything like that. Now, I'm going to talk a little spoiler in this because I've covered it once. So, in the beginning of the film, Toni Collette's mother passes away. She obviously was distant. And we hear a lot about her mother passing away in this kind of help therapy group. And she says about her entire family to this whole group. And she says this horribly sad story, and everybody just kind of dumbfounded. You see a guy fiddling with his hands in uncomfortability, which genuinely I think would happen. And she explains this thing with her family about her father dying, starving himself, and her brother killing himself because he felt that there were people inside him. She goes on about her mother dying and a bunch of people at the funeral she didn't know. And all this stuff is such good setup. Now, like when you rewatch it, it hits you over the head with it. But the first time you watch it, you just think it's there, right? It's just well hidden in plain sight, I guess. They tell you exactly everything. Like it's not one of these movies where you're like, I can't figure out what's going on. It does take a second viewing to gather everything. But they literally are telling you everything that is going to happen in a lot of ways. The emotion in this movie is fantastic. Well, if anybody hasn't seen the film, it's a Rosemary's Baby style movie in a lot of ways, but it's completely unique too. The camera work is fantastic. The Toni Collette's job is she basically makes miniatures, these elaborate, expensive miniatures. So, like, we incorporate that too. And even in the last shot of the film, we kind of put it in a miniature, which is really clever. It's just so much things about this where it creates these scenes of absolute despair. when Toni Collette finds the headless corpse of Charlie and she starts screaming, that moment literally felt real to me. Like I was watching something I shouldn't be seeing. Like I was looking at someone have a breakdown. Like I don't want to get personal on situations, you know what I mean? But everybody's had those where you see somebody literally lose something so important to them that they have a freak out, where they have a complete mental break, where they just cannot deal with life and they don't want to deal with life and they shut down. And it was there. It was legitimate. Felt legitimate. Gabriel Byrne in this movie is also fantastic. Now, he is the guy who's trying to keep it together, but you see him slipping, and you see so much detail in his face, in his reactions to situations. When they're sitting around the dinner table, and at one point Toni Collette gets very upset at her son, who is partially responsible for some of the horrible things that have been happening. Well, it's a weird situation, right? Who's to blame? Everyone? No one. Yeah. So Toni Collette goes off on her own son, and you see Gabriel Byrne's face go from anger to sadness to just like shock too. It's just such a great moment. When the disturbing stuff does happen, it's visually like violent and stuff. It's there. Sawing of the head off. My only complaint about it is like kind of running on the ceiling stuff at the very end reminds me of kind of like that cheap, like we saw the Exorcist scare, and that's the only knock I have on the movie. But everything else I think works really well. It is a little convoluted, like as far as the passing of payment and things like that. But watching it, it's more understandable a second time for sure. It's not, I wouldn't say it's exactly a straightforward thing, how it all unfolds, but life is not exactly straightforward. So obviously some things kind of screwed up the whole situation and everybody's plan. But yeah. Lots of setup, lots of payoffs, immaculately well acted. All four of the leads in here are fantastic. There's great realizations that Toni Collette has where she goes with her husband and tells him all these things. Well, this is this, and she sounds literally like a paranoiac or something like that, where she seems very unhinged. And the movie's called Hereditary, so you know that her mom had problems, her father had mental problems, her brother had mental problems, and then you start to see things happening to their kids that possibly could be mental problems and herself. So for a long period of time, you just don't know if anything is really happening or it's just some sort of hereditary problem. But when she's explaining all these screwed up things to Gabriel Byrne, like the body in the attic and this and that, and I saw this woman and she had a pillow like that, and it's just like you sound legitimately crazy. Like she sounds absolutely insane, but at the same time, everything she's saying you know to be true, or at least it appeared to be true to you as well while watching the film. So it's just really great stuff like that. I would say that this is one of the finest performances that I've ever seen in a horror film. I mean, there's some great ones, of course. I'm not saying like this is the new standard, because there's tons of like old horror films that have these tremendous performances as well. But I guess I would say in modern, the last 10, 20 years, it's one of the better ones for sure. And I know a lot of people don't love this movie, and maybe it's just because hype, or it just didn't connect with you, or you're not really into dark dramas. But this is a horror film too, as well. I mean, it has these crazy elements, and it tackles. I don't want to say like, and also when people like elevated horror, it's like, dude, the 70s had tons of horror films like this. I don't know why all of a sudden now this is elevated, whatever. But anyways, it's a fantastic movie. I really like it. And I'm also a fan of Midsommar by Ari Aster. Just a filmmaker to obviously look out for, and he has a unique way of ripping your soul out of your body on film. Yeah. Hereditary. Okay, so the next one is a Patreon pick from Jason Willard, and he picked 18 Bronzemen. It's a martial arts movie. Sorry about that. And yeah, so I had not seen this one. I'd seen a handful of martial arts films that I've enjoyed. So this one, I go to rent it on Amazon, and I hate watching a lot of these movies like this dubbed in English because it just makes it cheesy as hell. And I rent it. It's $1. It's really cheap. And the picture quality is a potato. It literally looks like they got some like print that was underwater. It's clearly like a dub, like a read VHS. So I'm so upset. I was like, I can't watch this. So it's not really readily available. So I try to find it any way I can. I eventually get a copy. The subs are off. So just the viewing experience of this in general was not exactly the best, to be honest. And I have to say that up front because it probably affected some of my viewing of it. So what we have here is these villains try, like, it's definitely like a time of kingdom and overthrowing. They're trying to murder this guy and his entire family. He's a young man. He ends up escaping and getting taken to this, I don't even want to use proper term dojo, but like a monastery or whatever where they train martial arts. And their entire main goal is to be able to defeat the 18 Bronzemen. So they train for life. So we see him at a young age developing his skills with other young men, and they become friends, become brothers in this place. And they all must go through this 18 Bronzemen kind of like, I guess I'll say like a gauntlet. So they have like these big metal guys coming out and fighting them, and the sounds they make when they hit is such a satisfying. It's like boom, 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 like all these like kind of sound effects of the metal gongs hitting when they're hitting them. It's very satisfying. So they have all these different traps and stuff they have to overcome. So eventually, if you pass, you go out into the real world and everything like that. And pretty soon enough, the circumstances are set up where he has to get revenge for the loss of his family and everything that happened previously. And they're obviously after him as well still. So it's up to him, his newly found wife, who's like destined to be with him, and one of his old friends, and they must fight the master. So that's the setup and kind of the whole entire run of the movie. The martial arts stuff is cool. I like the I kind of like when these movies bring out weapons and do a lot of things. It's not the most insane stuff I've seen, but it's well done. It's not my favorite, to be honest, and I don't really have that much to say. I liked it. I enjoyed like the hitting of like the Bronzemen, everything like that, and kind of over defeating that stuff and learning all the things, because they're gonna have to face, in the main villain, they're gonna have to face all these aspects that the Bronzemen had. So it's clever, and I would have liked to see a nice print. I think it would have helped with proper subs and everything matched up. But a lot of these movies, they don't get the proper releases over here. I do think this might be getting a release down the line. I'm not 100% sure. But there is an HD version around, but I believe it's a Chinese Blu-ray, which runs for a very expensive money, and I could not have got it in time. So that's kind of a problem. But anyways, I enjoyed my time with it. I would like to revisit a better quality of it. And also, one of the lead guys in here, of course, is in Big Trouble in Little China. I think he's the wind guy, or whatever, the big mean looking guy. He does most of the damage in this movie, to be honest. So that's 18 Bronzemen. Okay, now it's time to hit that big 1970 stretch. I got a bunch of them for you.
Though sometimes beaten back, he came again and again against the enemy, till at the end he came alone from the bloody field, for he alone could triumph. This was a Dracula indeed.
1970, President Nixon ordered American troops into Cambodia. He called it an incursion, not an invasion, and it lasted for 2 months. The purpose was to destroy enemy bases and supply lines. At times, that mission was extremely dangerous.
Marcus Welby, MD, and the Dick Cavett Show will not be seen tonight, so that we may bring you live color coverage of the 42nd Annual Awards of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences.
The Jimi Hendrix experience is over. The acid rock musician died today in a London hospital, apparently from an overdose of drugs.
Headquarters in Washington, I'm Howard K. Smith.
I'm Harry Reasoner in New York. These are tonight's headlines. Rail service across the nation is crippled by the continuing strike of the Railway Clerks Union. President Nixon meets with newsmen in his first nationally televised news conference since late July. Defense counsel says that Lieutenant Calley had orders from higher up to kill every living thing. They lie. And Secretary of State Rogers pledges that American troops will not be sent back into Cambodia. Howard?
Reports tonight on the rail strike from Gregory.
And after she let the devil fornicate with her, making the men impotent.
Okay, the first up is a crazy Czechoslovakian movie. Most of the movies that are going to be from like the Czech Republic or whatever, I don't know if it's Czech Republic at the time, probably was, are that make it to America are going to be kind of bizarre, different. And this is Valerie and Her Week of Wonders. So this is based on a novel, from my understanding. I don't think the novel is 100% close to the movie. This is a strange film, and I believe I had seen this one, and I can't remember exactly. Probably back in the early Shut Up Brandon podcast days, I think I checked this one out. This is a crazy weird movie from 1970. I know some people. One of my friends was like, "This isn't a horror film," and I'm just like, I don't know what world you're in. I know it's not a typical horror film, but there is a lot of horror aspects here. I would say a fairy tale first, then a horror movie. It has like elements of Wizard of Oz and Lamora in here. Like I don't know how to Lamora and Wizard of Oz, but it's made before Lamora, and it has like this weird coming of age style to it. It's a weird magic movie. So how do I go about this? Okay, so we have this young girl, Valerie, and the day she mentions she has her period to her grandmother who's taking care of her, she knows that her parents are both gone, so she's being raised in this kind of beautiful house, and the only person that she really kind of hangs around with is Eglet, who we find out later is her brother possibly, but they call each other cousins, and they obviously have a weird attraction. So right there we get this gross incest angle, and there's this guy that is basically, he appears to be like a weird corpse, and he has a great reveal with the mask and kind of the circus time, because there's like in the beginning they mentioned that the who is it, the priest or the missionaries are coming, and the actors are coming, and all this kind of stuff coming to the village, and he seems to be there showing up with them. And he is apparently the uncle or the uncle of Eglet. So he and it would appear that most people see him as young and handsome, but she sees him as this kind of corpse-like Nosferatu style rotted teeth character, and he's really gross. But he's also a polecat. If that can make any sense to anyone, he seems to transform like a vampire. So this is a weird vampiric story where eventually her grandmother has a relation with this polecat character as well, Richard, I'll say, and it goes back further, and people are turning into vampires, and people are playing dual roles, and reality will change through these earrings that seem to be magical and protective. Like, so there's these weird magical elements in here as well. It's a beautiful looking movie. It looks fantastic. There's lots of flowers and lots of chickens running around and lots of crazy chaos and mayhem and just strange things. But yeah, it's a weird vampire film in a lot of ways, and coming of age film, and a lot of symbolic stuff, and kind of like it's saying statements on the church and things like that. There's this weird moment where one of the priest comes after her, and he's just really gross, and it does seem to be, like I said, like a warped fairy tale Wizard of Oz coming of age vampire period piece, insane work of art. Like, it's gorgeous. The cinematography is gorgeous. The music is gorgeous. There's lots of great lines and I meant like scenes, like shots and everything. So like I said, it's a beautiful film, and it's not too long. It doesn't do its welcome, but it's like it's a lot to talk about. It's a lot to kind of explore and divvy up, and I just can't like tell you exactly what everything means. Like, when you're watching it, it kind of makes sense, but then like things will change all the time, and who's who, and multiple actors playing multiple things, and it's just like there's some good creepy moments for sure. Yeah, Valerie and Her Week of Wonders, creepy, great film. There's a couple features on here, one of which I watched, which is there's 3 early shorts, but I watched New Interview with Czechoslovakian film scholar Peter Hames, and he talks a little bit about this film, which is absolutely insane. And like, it's one of these movies where you watch and you're like, I think I got some of it. I want to know if I'm right about this and this, and then you'll listen to other people talk about it, and they're like, well, it's a weird, bizarre, not really a horror movie, not really a fairy tale. I don't really, and they're just like, shit, really, like a lot of the people are just, I don't know, like there's a lot to unfold, and there's just it's a lot of weird meanings and things like that in here as well. So not everybody can just outly explain a movie, it's just, but it's a unique experience, and I really enjoyed the hell out of it. So yeah, Valerie and Her Week of Wonders. Okay, this next one from 1970 is Cauldron of Blood with Boris Karloff. That's right. And this is essentially kind of a weird duo, makeover or something, kind of similar to Bucket of Blood by Roger Corman with Dick Miller. So we have here as Boris Karloff is the sculptor, and he is blind. He was in an accident, and his wife takes care of him. They're kind of isolated in a beautiful, I can't remember, exotic, beautiful location, and he makes sculptures and sells them off paintings or something like that. This journalist or somebody shows up to this location looking for a story or following a lead, and people start to disappear. No one really knows what's happening, and it feels like it's kind of obvious what's going on, but you don't know exactly who the players are and everything like that. So, of course, there's some sort of murder taking place and people being turned into kind of art projects. That's kind of obvious right away. The wife is obviously main suspect and creepy and everything like that. There's a couple dream sequences or like hallucinations which get completely bonkers and psychedelic. So like all the movies from 1970 are either like weird period pieces like Jonathan or Mark of the Devil or something like that. Or you have the ones that are like carryovers from the 60s where they feel like partially like weird 60s spy movies with the psychedelic like dance music, like, and this one has that, like there's like a lot of club scenes and people just dancing and everything like that and odd characters wandering around. This one is a bit meandering. Boris Karloff is solid in it, but it's semi-predictable, and the last couple shots with Karloff are just like hilariously bad, like put it like I don't even know right now what I've called weird dissolve, like cutting over each other, and just looks kind of silly. There's no special features on here, which kind of made me sad, but it looks pretty decent. It's obviously remastered from Ala Films. It's an alright one. I didn't absolutely adore it. The lead's not fantastic. He's kind of a little bit forgettable, to be honest. But yeah, there's lots of kind of hanging out, partying, having a couple drinks here and there. But there is a cauldron of blood, and it's acid, and it's awesome. So I'll give it that. It's like classic, kind of like that way that if your hand goes in it, it's just a skeleton. Doesn't like Scream and Scream Again have something like that as well? That's also from 1970. So I guess we're dealing with acid baths right now. Yeah. Okay, this next one here also feels kind of like a 60s spy movie, and this is Assignment Terror, starring Paul Naschy, and it also stars the lead actor in The Day the Earth Stood Still, the sci-fi classic. So, this is absolutely an insane movie, and you got to give it props for somehow making a monster mash. Like, I love monster mashes. Anytime you can incorporate multiple monsters, like Monster Squad or Neon Maniacs or Waxwork, I'm like, yes, especially when they're Universal-style mashups. So this one incorporates 4 big monsters, all right, and aliens and craziness. So what we have here is it appears that these aliens are invading Earth because I think they want to take over Earth, but they're going to do that by kind of playing on man's superstition and bringing back creatures or monsters that man feared, including a vampire, who's some sort of count that's not Dracula, a Frankenstein monster, which is, they like Frankenstein, they say it different because they're trying to avoid copyright, a wolfman, and a mummy, which is cool because you rarely see a mummy mixed with other monsters. You know, he's not always there. You kind of do see the Wolfman, Dracula, Frankenstein mixing it up a little bit. But so I was very excited to see the monster mashup. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes scientific stuff that reminded me of some of that like cheesy 60s television, or like a Santo movie or something like that, where like you have the weird televisions and people viewing and everything. It definitely feels like a carryover from the 60s for sure. Paul Naschy's really good at it, and of course he plays Valdemar Danzitsky, the typical werewolf guy. He plays in a bunch of these other movies, and he is dug up and the silver bullet's removed from his heart. That's how they bring him back. So we do have a vampire kind of like attacking people occasionally, but we do see Valdemar kind of attack here and there, and the mummy too. The mummy has the best makeup. Some of the makeup on the creatures is a little shoddy, to be honest. It's real shoddy, but I think that the mummy looks the creepiest. I actually thought he was very effective, and of course these things have to come to an end in kind of spectacular fashion. I'll use spectacular quotes because, you know, it's not as much as you'd want, but it's effective. And we have a couple monster fights, which I remember watching a couple movies that had where they had like a Sasquatch and like a big giant monster in the same room, and they didn't fight, or they were around each other, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Or like the Terror Within 2 had 2 giant monsters in the same room and you don't fight. If you have multiple monsters in your movie, you have to have a monster fight. Like, it is an unwritten rule. If I'm seeing 2 monsters in your movie, they better fight, or they better be on teams or something. You know what I mean? I know Neon Maniacs doesn't have the monsters fight, all right. Sorry. But Monster Squad has some monster fights, and Assignment Terror has some monster fights. That's right. I don't think I've ever seen a werewolf square off against a mummy. the fight is a little short, but still cool. And we have, of course, a recreation of, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman at the end here. So that is very cool. All these things kind of exploding. And, of course, the evil aliens kind of learn that man's true power is his compassion, which is kind of a nice little heartwarming thing here. I guess Nashi wrote this one, according to a commentary by Troy Howarth, which is a great commentary. And he points out some of these things, of course, bad makeup, but that doesn't take a film historian to point out bad makeup on Frankenstein and stuff like that, and even the Wolfman, and even Nashi. But he kind of breaks this down and explains some things and everything like that, and it's an enjoyable movie. I really got it as a fun monster romp. I would recommend it. Any way you can incorporate 4 monsters and some aliens and do it in like an hour and like 25 minutes is impressive. Like, there's no time to stop. I mean, the monsters are just coming out and being created as fast as they're like rising as fast as the movie can get them in there. They're like, well, we're not wasting any time. I mean, they find Dracula at a sideshow, and it does feel like in that way like a Universal setup because it's just quick and straight to the point. And he does talk a little. Troy Howarth on the commentary mentions that Paul Naschy was absolutely infatuated with Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, and that explains a lot of his career. So the more Naschy I watch, the more I love the guy because he has a genuine love for horror films, and I feel like he probably played more of the monsters than anybody else, like especially with Howl of the Devil. He was just like, I'm going to squeeze in as many monsters as I can, even if it's a small rod, but I'll be a Phantom, I'll be Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde for 2.5 seconds, fuck it, I'll be Frankenstein in here too. And I think he played Frankenstein in another one, maybe, I don't know, but the dude's played so many monsters, and he's always so gung-ho and just always entertaining to watch. So yeah, that is Assignment Terror, which was a very enjoyable 1970 movie for sure. Okay, the next one here is from Jess Franco. This is the second one from 1970 from Jess Franco, along with Count Dracula. He did another one, Eugenie. And this is The Bloody Judge, starring Christopher Lee. That's right. And this does have a Blu-ray overseas, I think. So I think originally this was released in a PG version, but the like 104 minute, or I mean like 144 minute version, or whatever, 104 minutes is rated R for sure. It's probably unrated. So this budget is pretty freaking big for Jess Franco. Like I said, in the 1970 and stuff, Franco's movies weren't what like a lot of people came to know, like him making those like 90s movies like Incubus and stuff like that. A lot of the real dirt cheap ones. Like, he made some really kind of like great movies, like She Killed in Ecstasy and Vampiros Lesbos, and I really like Count Dracula. And he made some cool ones too. Like, this one is pretty decent. It's a period piece, and like in 1970 and around this time, like 68, we have Vincent Price doing, the Matthew Hopkins character Witchfinder General, and then we have like I know Peter Cushing doing kind of like his evil kind of like Witchfinder and like Twins of Evil, and then we have Herbert Lom and Mark of the Devil. So we have a lot of these kind of mean Witchfinder kind of characters around this time, and I guess it's time for Christopher Lee to do his in The Bloody Judge. So he basically, Christopher Lee is this asshole guy who judges witches and sentences people and everything like that, but he never witnesses anything himself. So of course, he gets his eye on this other lord's like son. He doesn't like him. He doesn't like the women the girl he's associating with, and he kind of focuses on them. He wants to. He likes the woman. Obviously, has a weird sexual thing, and he wants to obviously sentence them, but they're like involved with like a overthrowing of the king. This is, like I said, a period piece, so there's a lot of governmental stuff, so obviously like a power struggle between like kings and everything like that. So Lee's on one side and this other guy's working for the other guy, trying to overthrow him. So we have these battle scenes at times, and we have a lot of Lee kind of just being a stern asshole. He's very good at that. He's good in this film. And then we have like a lot of torture scenes. Like, we'll go to the dungeon and we'll have some people being tortured. It's not as explicit as Mark of the Devil or anything, but it has its moments. Somebody's hand is lopped off and all that kind of stuff. And the main dungeon torturing guy is Howard Vernon, Jess Franco regular. That's nice to see him in this weird black hooded suit, which is absolutely hilarious. But yeah, it's a decent movie. I don't absolutely love it. Harry Alan Towers produced it. I believe he produced the Dracula too, the Count Dracula, and of course he produced the Fu Manchu movies with Christopher Lee, at least a couple of them. The latter two, directed by Franco, were also Alan Tower movies. So he's one of these kind of low budget guys who produced a lot of Franco's movies from the like 1970 and stuff around that time. So yeah, this one I think is is fairly decent. I liked it. Lee's good in it, and it's good to see Lee kind of play this role. Yeah, so if you're big into Christopher Lee, this is kind of a must. If not, I feel like there's somebody else in here that I'm just completely missing. Like, I feel like he wouldn't be in there. Leo Glenn is a name that rings a bell, and Maria Ram, yeah, she was in Count Dracula as well. So yeah, that's the Blue Underground DVD. Like I said, there is a Blu-ray, but I think it's an overseas release and probably a German, probably very expensive. But that is The Bloody Judge. Okay, this next one here is An Evening with Edgar Allan Poe, which is, it's kind of a movie. It's a movie, I guess you'd say. And I'm not hitting it like, is it a movie? But it's made 1970, obviously. So basically what we have here is like a few camera angles on Vincent Price reading these 4 Poe stories. So we do get like cutaways and different camera angles and everything like that. It's like live television, it really feels like. So Price is completely different characters and dressed up in these different outfits in all 4 shorts. So the first one is The Telltale Heart, which is a classic story if anybody's familiar with that one. And he's really good in this one. He's tremendous. And you got to remember that this is all like, it feels like in one take, like Lee's doing everything. And then they do everything in one and then do some inserts and everything. So it's just like a power, it's like you get to watch Vincent Price on stage, right? Doing a live performance. So that's fantastic. And he does this one is probably my second favorite is The Telltale Heart. And then the next one is The Sphinx, which is more of the comedic one, which is cute and funny and ends on a lighter note. But the one that really steals the show is The Cast of Amontillado, which is a great story in itself, the Poe story. And it's one of my favorites. And it's such a short story that, like, I don't know if there's been a feature made of it. I'm sure there is. But they'll incorporate it, like Stuart Gordon's Pit and the Pendulum. They'll have a little scene in there with Oliver Reed that's kind of like that. But this one is so fantastic. And to see his acting prowess in here and his pettiness. Like, Poe's movie, like, his like, stories are a lot about pettiness and mental, like, health problems, like insanity, like especially The Telltale Heart. Like anytime somebody tells you, they try to convince you of their sanity more than anything, like they're trying to tell you they're sane, they sound even more insane. So like if you've ever heard someone say, I'm not crazy, you're like, oh man, that person's crazy. But if somebody's like, I'm crazy, you're just like, you're not crazy, we're all crazy. Which, but if somebody tells you they're not crazy, I'm not crazy, you almost like, all right, man, leave me alone, please. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really feels like that, and that's The Telltale Heart really captures that. Like I said, so we're back to the Cast of Amontillado and him doing the cuts and the inserts when he does the Fortunato. He's like, good jest, my friend. It's so brilliant, and I love how ruthless Price is in this one. Just so good, so amazing, and it's such an amazing story. I've always loved it. How he just manipulates the situation. That's probably one of my favorite short stories of all time. Once I think about it, I can't think of one that I've read from Poe that I liked more than that. And seeing Price get to do it is just great. And his, like I said, the pettiness and the ending of it just works perfectly. How it ends too is just like, ooh, the spitefulness, love it. And then the final story is The Pit and the Pendulum, which is, I don't know if I've ever read this story, but I know the story, and it's obviously been made in the movies, but this short story is kind of different. It's about this poor guy who's being tortured by the Spanish Inquisition, and he's in this dark hole, he can't see anything, and he's wandering, and he comes across a pit, then he's tied up in the pendulum and all that kind of stuff, and it's just Price just being absolutely terrified and horrified by the entire situation. So this one is also pretty good. I would rate them Cast of Amontillado perfect, and then I would do The Telltale Heart is great, and then I would go The Pit and the Pendulum, and then The Sphinx. They're all good, they're all pretty solid, and they're all about 15 minutes apiece, and the movie comes in maybe a little like 13 and a half minutes. So it comes in at about 52 minutes. It's pretty great. There is an interview with the director on here, and he talks about Price after it was over. He said, that's the best work I've done in 30 years. Like, you could tell he just, like a lot of these classic actors, like these guys like Cushing and Lee and Price, you could tell like they kind of lit up when they got to do something that they felt had like cultural significance or like historical like literature and stuff. They're just like Lee was very happy, I guess, to actually get to read lines or say lines from the actual Dracula novel is the novel in Jess Franco's Count Dracula. So, you could tell in his performance that he's really jazzed to do it. And I love seeing that. I love seeing classic act. These guys are going to be solid or great in everything they do, but to see them obviously be excited for something is a little special because they're tremendous at everything they do. So when they're excited, it's even amplified. So, yeah. Okay, this next one here is Mark of the Witch. Yeah, right. The 1970 vampires and witches, right? That's it. And some kind of like maybe some psycho kind of stuff. That's about the three things you're gonna get. You're not gonna get zombies. You're just gonna get mostly vampires, witches, and psychos. Okay, so Mark of the Witch. This one starts off brilliantly with this witch being condemned to hang, and she does this long, elaborate, great, like kind of curse monologue thing to everybody, and then boom. And then it cuts to like the credits, and we see all these leaves blowing and this great kind of like poetry music kind of thing saying. And I'm like, oh, this seems like a great little spell movie. And I look at the runtime; it's an hour and 17 minutes. I'm like, oh, we might be in for a little treat. And then we're in modern times, of course, like I said, on a college campus, and all these people are kind of looking and researching the occult from the teacher. He's into it, so they're all kind of having this weird party where they all bring these occult witch books and everything like that. One of the times they bring the wrong book, and it transfers this witch into one of the students, and the student wants to carry out revenge and everything like that, and all this witchcraft and everything. So she starts to manipulate her teacher, who apparently is an ancestor of somebody that was with her and her covenant and everything like that. And after like it sets up and everything, it starts to get a little meandering, and she starts to poison some people and everything like that. But I literally, like, the opening was so strong, like the first 10-15 minutes, I was like, seems really great, but it just becomes almost meandering for me, and I started to lose a lot of interest. I don't think it's terrible. I think it's just decent. I do think the lead in here, she's solid, she's decent, and there's obviously a body double in here where they like insert some nudity that had to be put in later. Like, you could tell it's not the same person. Like when she's like out in the woods kind of screaming at the sky, like you could tell like it turns into a body double, and then like there's this, because you never see her face, and like then you see like some nudity that's like splashed in there really quick. But she has to deal with like as the witch, she's like has to relearn things and be taught by the teacher and like her boyfriend and all that kind of stuff, and they're obviously in a race of time to try to stop her and save their friend, of course. But yeah, so this one I felt was decent, not great. I thought the picture quality looked really good on the remaster. There's no special features, which is sad, just a trailer and no subtitles. So that's Mark of the Witch from Code Red. Put that one out. Okay, so the next one is a Mario Bava flick, and this is Hatchet for the Honeymoon. The second movie he directed in 1970. He also directed $5 for an August Moon. This bad boy's got a commentary on here by Tim Lucas. He wrote the book Mario Bava, All Colors of the Dark. So yeah, this is Mario Bava doing kind of a psycho thing, but his style, right? So yeah, this is a great film. It opens up like so crazy, and it all ties together at the end, that psycho kind of stuff where you kind of have this really weird character study and this psychological problems. Like, there's so many movies like this, and I enjoy most of them, from, like I said, Trauma, Killer of Dolls, Maniac feels like it was inspired by Hatchet for a Honeymoon more than Psycho, right? When you see the mannequins and all that kind of stuff, and the mommy problems, which is a Psycho thing as well. But so we have this this kind of point of view where we see, like, on a train, you see this young boy like kind of off in the distance, and this guy ends up attacking this woman on her wedding night. I think it's and killing her with a hatchet, or like a cleaver. It's more of a cleaver. And we basically follow around this character who, I think he runs like a modeling place where they focus a lot on wedding dresses. He's unhappily married. Their marriage is very cold, obviously not a sexual one. That's long past. And it turns out that he is a psycho killer, and he has problems that he's trying to kind of explore in himself through these murders, and everything has to have a wedding fetish. So anybody getting married is kind of his main focus, which is really dark and bleak, but also kind of humorous, and a kind of a, I don't even want to say, like, it's just kind of morbid, I guess I would say, macabre, morbid. So eventually he starts having this relationship with Dagmar Lasseter. She's in a bunch of these movies. She's in, what's the one? House by the Cemetery by Fulci is the one that rings for me. But she's in a slew of them. And of course, he just can't contain himself. And there's a thing with his wife, and I want to spoil this a little bit because it's where the movie takes kind of a crazy turn, to be honest. Like, it turns into a partially supernatural, and it gets really bizarre where characters can see the person that he supposedly killed, but he can't see him. And I thought that was pretty clever in a weird way. The lead actor in here, I think, is solid. I think he physically looks the part, kind of like this handsome playboy with money, but he obviously has that void. He's missing something. He literally looks like he's missing his soul within him. It's just very bizarre. And like these movies, there is going to be that kind of like remembrance like that for the killer, of course. It reminds me a little bit of Nightmare in a Damaged Brain would kind of take that scene, right, where you kind of have that moment of clarity where you remember exactly, you're getting glimpses of the past, and then all of a sudden, boom, in a big moment at the very end or something. Although this is much better done than Nightmare in a Damaged Brain. Not that I hate that movie at all, but this is just a little classier because it's Mario Bava, right? The music in here is great. Love the music. Love the wedding themes, and I love the cinematography. There's lots of cool stuff. There's a great shot where you see him through the door, and there's everything's dark except there's a ray of light on his eye, and I'm like, that's really awesome. That's really cool stuff. And it's always funny, like when a lot of times, like people will be like, I'm sure it's from earlier films, but when you're talking horror films, people are like, that's great in this movie, and it's got to be the first one to do it. And then like you'll probably go back and be like, I bet Mario Bava did it first. Like, you know what I mean? And then you see something, you're like, that looks a little early. I think Bava probably did that first. So yeah, like I said, it's well acted, it's well directed, it's well shot. It's made out of budget though, of course. There's good moments of suspense where like there's these police officers looking through his house, and there's literally a hand above, like hanging off the staircase, and blood's just dripping down, and any second they can look up, but are they gonna? You don't know. I thought that it was a really good character study and that weird kind of psycho kind of vibe, you know what I mean? Liked it quite a bit. Loved the commentary by Tim Lucas. He did a very good job pointing out the stuff that he really enjoyed, saying all the actors, talking about Stephen Forsythe, who he got to talk to, the lead in this movie. Yeah, so he breaks everything down and points out some familiar faces as always. Anyways, no subtitles, but it looks really good. It sounds pretty good, from Kino or Redemption. Anyways, this one was really enjoyable. I liked it quite a bit. Hatchet for the Honeymoon.
What? What is this? Zombie Bloodbath 2, Rage of the Undead. Oh. What? You ain't seen Zombie Bloodbath 2, Rage of the Undead?
Nah, I guess I must have missed that one.
You ain't seen nothing.
You ain't seen nothing.
I seen way more than you. Mm-hmm. You haven't seen Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, Casino, Cannibal Holocaust, The Beginning, The Great Escape, Kelly's Heroes, Once Upon a Time in the fucking West.
You haven't seen War and Peace, Pink Flamingos, Casablanca, Gone with the Wind, Citizen Kane, The Alvin and the Chipmunks Christmas Special.
You haven't seen, what else haven't you seen? The Magnificent Seven? The Magnificent Seven Ride Again? The Magnificent Seven Are Back? Is that a movie? And last of all, you ain't seen Zombie Bloodbath 2, Rage of the Undead.
And you haven't seen War and Peace.
I ain't watching War and Peace.
The hell you are.
Fuck War and Peace! Alright, we're here for You Ain't Seen. And this is my pick for you. And I know we were supposed to do Dorian Gray, but the bird with the crystal plumage showed up earlier. So we're going to tackle Arrow's new 4K of the bird with the crystal plumage. You had never seen it.
No. Oh, we were supposed to do Dorian Gray?
Yeah, that was my pick, but then that showed up and I was like, we're doing the bird with the crystal plumage because I want to watch it now.
I don't even pay attention to what we're supposed to do.
So this also fits in, obviously, as one of the heavy hitters from 1970. So I always wanted to see this one. It's Dario Argento's first Giallo, his first directed film. He actually started as a screenwriter on other things, like working under kind of like Sergio Leone, who is pretty much the big Italian director, the spaghetti westerns, Good, Bad, and Ugly, and everything like that. So this was his directorial debut. His father was a producer, so that probably helped him along in being in it was very incestuous. Everybody was in the Italian film scene and stuff like that, so there's a lot of collaborations. And this wasn't the first Giallo. Most people say that's a Mario Bava movie, either The Girl Who Knew Too Much or something like Blood and Black Lace is more kind of considered that. But this was the one that popularized it, and through the early 70s in Italy, there were so many Giallo movies coming out in 1970, 1971, 1972. Eventually, he would make two more that were part of the Animal trilogy, Cat O' Nine Tails and Four Flies on Grey Velvet. He would make Deep Red. He would go on. And he would revisit the giallo genre with Tenebrae, and eventually later on with some stuff like giallo, which the later stuff doesn't really feel like a giallo except Sleepless. But okay, so this is pretty much the one that started it all. It stars Tony Musante, who is kind of a popular actor at the time. He's in stuff like The Incident, which is a really good 1967 film. It also stars Susie Kendall, who is in Torso, which is another popular semi-giallo kind of thing by Sergio Martino, considered a proto-slasher by some, very, very much a iconic film as well. And who else pops up in this one? Oh, Mario Adolphe. I think that's how you say his name. You recognize him for Major Dundee, which Arrow also put out, and a slew of Polizio Tessi films. Well, he's in a couple at least, the Fernando Del Leo movies. And going on and on about the movie. I'm a big fan of it. They originally released this on Blu-ray a while back. These cats are going to have a fight in the back. And it looks spectacular. So when they announced it was going to be on 4K, I was like, awesome. I covered it before with the supplemental material, and all of it's the same except there's a new booklet in there. So I'm not even sure if it's a repressing on the booklet. I should double check on that. But the supplemental stuff is fantastic. I'll probably mention that a little bit because it's all like repeats from the older view. But that stuff was really good. Kat Ellinger and some other people. So, all right, the plot of the film is actually... I know a lot about this film because I've just heard a lot of people talk about it and they kind of read up on it and stuff. And it's probably like a repeat, a mixture of everybody's supplemental material crammed into one. They basically took from probably a giallo book, Screaming Mimi. Maybe it was a Creamy, I can't remember. But that's kind of the story where they took it from and made this movie out of it. So in typical Italian fashion, maybe this is the first one like it, but I remember there's an art scene and Blood and Black Lace and Mario Bava stuff. Basically, what is he? A journalist is in Italy writing stories, kind of trying to survive, and he witnesses a brutal attack. And it appears to be the murderer was the one who attacked the woman. He saved her. And that's kind of where he gets involved with this investigation. The police detective kind of uses him really terribly, to be honest. And the police detectives actually in the case know the case is happily resolved, which Arrow also put out. Great kind of movie there. Go away. Goomba, such an annoying cat. So the police detective and him try to figure it out, and there's a bunch of people trying to kill him. And at parts, it feels almost like a 60s spy stuff when you get the Reggie Nalder stuff, and that's kind of a nice little thing in there. Reggie Nalder also was in another 1970 movie, Mark of the Devil. He was in a bunch of stuff. Yeah, Albino. So this movie. It's got a lot of history. It's got a lot going for it. Ennio Morricone did the score. So it's got a lot of high-level people acting. And for a film debut, man, this is fantastic.
It's pretty good.
So like I said, he gets involved trying to solve this serial killer murders that are happening around the city, and his girlfriend and him. And he's kind of a douchebag. Like, I know that Troy Howard talks in the commentary. It's like he's not exactly the likable guy, but for some reason the way he acts, he comes across not so unlikable. Because a lot of the Italian male leads are typically really unpleasant. Like, if you really think about how they treat people and stuff in the movies, like, not bad actors, of course, but the characters are always a little gray. So I've talked enough about it. I'm obviously a big fan of the film. I love the killer's motivations. I love the triggering incident, which is a thing I've noticed I've become obsessed with in real serial killer cases or murder cases. And I think that Dario's movies always have the best motivations for the killer. I know some people are like, those are nonsense. They're insane. It's just like fake like science shit and psychology that it may not work, but it comes from the Alfred Hitchcock school sometimes. And I just kind of love the Hitchcock ripoffs. I watched one this week from 1970 as well, the Hatchet for the Honeymoon by Mario Bava, and I love that, and I love all the crazy stuff in there. So, I guess, what did you think of watching it for the first time?
It was okay. It was pretty good, you know. I like the part where we looked at the bird.
Which is one of these bizarre elements of giallo films where they somehow squeeze in this elaborate title like the iguana with the tongue of fire, and you're like, what's that going to be? How's that going to work? And then you come to realize that there is, like, it's just such a metaphoric thing that sometimes it doesn't even appear in the movie.
What's the scorpion one?
The Case of the Scorpion's Tail, with Sergio Martino. Then you have Bloodstained Butterfly. And it's all got to stem from, initially this movie. This one actually does have the bird in the film.
Right.
And it does actually directly correlate to how the case is solved. And that part, like, you're kind of like, that's such a reach.
it's a reach, but
the procedural necessary is fine. Like, it reminded me of No Roy, too. How it goes one step.
Yeah. The main characters, his friend, is like, oh, that's like the cry of like a very specific bird. That
they have the killer recorded.
Right. But when they introduce the friend, he is at like a museum of
he's
sorts
a journalist,
where he has all the stuffed birds in there. So, I mean, it's not too far of a reach. I guess if he would know it, it would be that. It's still just such an odd sound for someone to make a connection with.
And one more thing before I forget. The friend is actually in a late 60s giallo called Death Laid an Egg. And if I'm not mistaken, there's like some like industrial shit going on, and I want to say they're studying are they studying bird eggs or something? So that's so weird that he's obsessed with birds in this movie too, right? So what were you saying about the friend actually being a doctor and everything?
No, I forgot.
Sorry, I completely ruined that. But yeah, you were saying that he actually is part of a scientific thing, so it does make sense. It's not too far of a reach for him to understand the bird call.
No, yeah, I mean it's an okay film. It's definitely, I think, inspired by Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. I even think that there's and I know I'm stretching, but I think that there's a call out to Psycho when they have the lineup of suspects, and the police chief is like, get that transvestite out of here. They're not the perverts, they're with the psychos.
No. He didn't say that. He said, I said the perverts, not the trans. And then the trans person's really offended. And that's one of these things where it has that element of comedy, which Dario would always have. He'd always have overtly homosexual characters, although they are played for comedic relief. I never feel like they're miserable, horrible people or anything like that. And one of them actually has one of the homosexual characters help solving the case, as one of the major characters, which I liked.
But there's actually 2 or 3 homosexual characters in this one.
But
you had the art gallery guy. But I always feel like that was a big takeaway from Psycho. Not that I've ever seen Psycho, but the big takeaway is if you're trans, then you're a psycho, or a pervert.
Going crazy right now. Another thing that I really like about the movie is we said about the early Hammer stuff, where there's always these side characters that are completely quirky and weird, and this is 100% this. Every character that is in part of the investigation or comes in contact with, it's just a weird person. We have the pimp in jail who has to say what is it, so long every time so he doesn't stutter, and then we also have the weird guy who is really paranoid and double talking, and he's like, no, I don't want your money, and then he pockets it, that kind of stuff.
Right.
We have the artist, who is one of the best characters, who's actually played Mario Adolphe, and his stuff is great with the cats. And like I said, the reveal here, the way that the transition is one of my favorite transitions in a movie, because it literally shows them staring at this painting that they think is possibly involved with the case, and they're looking at it in black and white, and we have the character, and it kind of goes into the painting, and we see the painting, and it zooms out of the painting, and it goes into color, and we realize that we've transitioned from the photo of the picture, them looking at it, to the real life killer staring at the painting in his giallo outfit, and it's just a spectacular scene. You can actually see Dario dressed as the killer in a reflection. I was like, is that a cameraman back there? But it's actually Dario, because obviously he always wanted to dress as the killer in his films.
Okay.
So that's a really nice touch. I really love that. They did the cool trick where they threw the camera out the window and messed it up.
Oh, that was really cool.
Yeah.
That was the jumping scene, right?
Yeah. So did you know who the killer was?
I mean, it's quite clear, but it's the husband. And at one point...
Spoiler.
Oh yeah, spoiler for 1970.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about it, but
it is 40 years.
It is kind of clear that that person has to be involved, but they give you a lot of red herrings, and you were like, it's the friend, it's the cop. You're just throwing things out there, but the way at the very end, you're like, it has to be that. And there was a huge part about this movie that people completely complained that they said, well, they showed it differently. They actually really don't. They actually show his point of view. And you don't, it's kind of semi-different, it's semi-obscured. You see just 2 characters struggling. You never see who actually is holding the knife. And then when he remembers, we see different things.
Right.
But I know it's kind of cheating, and Dario would kind of cheat a little bit. I know the screenwriter Nestor Gadaldi made a joke about that in one of the supplemental features on something. He said if he had made The Sixth Sense, he would have made Bruce Willis's character interacting with the wife, like completely going against that. He obviously is dead by the end, and I thought it was kind of funny. That was a little bit of mudslinging right there. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, you ask any police officer anything about a case, you don't remember the suspect. Like that's why as more time goes by, your memory fades, just like a dream or a nightmare. You try to recall, and it's never the same. You remember things differently. You plug in other life events to cover that, and so he starts to remember it differently. But he always says, "There's something wrong with my memory. I cannot remember exact." But the initial shot he sees, it's kind of obscured. You never really see. You just see a part of it.
Just see the figures.
You never really know exactly what whole picture he saw. So that complaint is kind of stupid.
Yeah, I guess.
But the whole reveal is based on that. So if you never buy that, you're gonna have a problem.
You see, this is a tricky thing because I've seen so many Giallos, and so many Giallos I think just completely make shit up in them to where it's
you can never guess.
Right, you can't guess because like what's the one where they have like the killer, but they have like a cutaway scene where there's a plane leaving. I guess you're supposed
Stop. That's Tenenbaum. That's Dario. And that's my favorite, and it's not even really, it's like a throwback. It's like him making comments about the critics making comments about his violence towards it. I love that movie. It's one of my all-time favorites.
I don't want to talk about
I was about to quote that movie, and I was going to say, like Peter Neal says in Tenenbaum, I'll probably screw this up. He says, when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. And that's what I love. And that's such a great line. And that's such a great idea when it comes to Giallo. But there are so many Giallo, or Gialli, however you guys want to say it, don't kill me, that are bullshit, right? Like, like a lot of them, I like slashers too. Like back in the Scream day, like Scream was a 96 slasher, right? And some slashers, you always wanted to guess who the killer was. It was just kind of a formulaic thing where let's guess who the killer is. But most slashers, you don't really guess who the killer is. It's either it's this big like mongoloid in the woods like Madman Mars or something like that, or Cropsy, where you don't really think it's going to be any other killer. And even Friday the 13th, you start to suspect like it's because it's a Bay of Blood take. Who's the killer? Who's the killer? And then it just randomly is some old lady, and they tie it into something in the very beginning. And you're like, that's kind of horseshit. Let's be honest. But I let it pass because I enjoyed the entire movie, and it's become such a historic moment in film that nobody really gives a shit.
Right. And I guess when I am watching Giallo, I'm not really ever trying to solve what the murder is because I know it's just going to kind of be some bullshit.
But that one wasn't really.
This one wasn't. I will say, but I kind of wish that there were more clues or certain things like so when he finds out about like the cigar smoking and like the type of gloves
they knew they were artistic and they had money. They had
right.
class.
They have these these things that you should be on the lookout for, but then it's like they don't really show the killers really interacting with that. And even like the scene with the husband, like he gives him a pack of cigarettes, not a thing of cigars. They go so as far as say, they're like Havana cigars, probably imported.
Because she probably was she smoking them cigars?
But you never. But
he's wearing the glove though.
Yeah, he's wearing the glove, but you never see her, with a cigar. But you do see the front of a cigar, and
they were definitely throwing it.
Yeah, they were just kind of like throwing stuff out there.
But like I like they do point out stuff in here. Like they do point out things that play into the fact. Like the painting, the customer who actually bought that painting. I love the idea of what happened to this person. Mm-hmm. And at the very end, they tell you, they do the psycho thing, like, what actually happened was it? And for a long time, they did that kind of shit, and I'm fine with it. But the idea for, like, the killer's, the triggering effect is really great. So this poor girl one day was in the park, and she was attacked by a mad person, a psychopath or a rapist or some sort, we assume. And the artist actually stopped the attack from happening, but he drew the picture of the attack. So this woman went on to basically be okay. She had some mental problems before, they say. So what happens is, which explains her helicopter husband, obviously, from other things, but what happens is So she's in the art gallery looking around because it makes sense because she's part of the art scene, and she sees the painting on the wall that her friend painted of that attack. She kind of just, boom, right there. It triggers this kind of violence where she doesn't associate herself with the victim anymore, but the killer. So she snaps. She takes the painting home with her, and that's what's great. They said, "Well, who bought the painting?" It was a young girl, I didn't know her, and the girl who sold her the painting was actually a first victim. So it's just great that like when you rewatch it, you're like, "Oh shit!" It, like killed the first person that sold the painting, and like they don't remember who she is, and it's just it worked, covered her tracks, but it was also just accidental covering of your tracks.
Right.
I don't know what else to say about it. Do you?
No, I mean it's like I said, it's all right.
Suzu.
I feel like Dress to Kill is definitely inspired from it.
Now they say Brian De Palma actually never saw too many of Dario's movies. I do know that Troy Howarth mentions that he did see one that because of one of the other directors, was it Lucas? Somebody told him to check it out. He thinks he'd like it, and I don't know. It's funny. Like people are like, I think he ripped it off. I don't think he ripped it off. That's ridiculous to think Brian De Palma did it, but it's like at the end of the day, everybody's ripping off Alfred Hitchcock anyway, so it's just like, well, I ripped off Hitchcock directly. I didn't rip off everybody. Dario, even Baba's movies, like, I know Baba's completely unique and different as you mix the gothic stuff, but like Hatchet for a Honeymoon has a lot of Hitchcock shit in there. Like after Psycho, somebody made a joke about that. I said make a double feature, but it's just kind of sequels. I gotta stop you from doing this. She's like purposely trying to get a bunch of attention on purpose, and it's very annoying.
We got her some new toys. And
No, it's not it. She just doesn't pay attention to you for 10 years, and then all of a sudden you're doing something she wants involved just because she's not getting attention. But anyways, so somebody made a joke about it. They were like, I said, make it your own double feature with movies that actually aren't sequels, but make them sequels. And somebody said Psycho and any 3/4 of horror movies after Psycho. And I was like, that's 100% accurate.
Right.
So I love the movie. The new 4K looks great. What I noticed is the crispness. Like, you would never say this movie is 51 years old, would you?
I just said it earlier in this
Yeah, but
video,
you would never guess it was 51 years old.
I would.
Would you?
Yeah.
By that 4K?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Well, I mean,
he has no fucking clue what he's talking about. It's like, I don't even know why I brought that up to you.
It looked.
Yeah, I like seriously. He's like contradicting me without evidence. It's like you're like, oh, that's blue. You're like, no, it's not.
I don't know what I was gonna say. No, I mean I can tell that it's a '70s Italian film because
the style and everything, but picture quality.
Picture quality going off of one aspect of the film. You see,
Yes.
now he puts in the caveat.
I told you,
now
picture quality.
No, it's like,
Anyways, I'm a big fan of the movie. It's not in either books. I don't know why. Maybe it wasn't. It was released on their alternate. I couldn't find it in either book.
Maybe it's not technically a horror.
Maybe it is a horror movie. Gialli falls under horror. And some of the murder scenes, especially the one in particular when the cut shirt is ripped off, that cuts the shirt off. That's like gratuitous as shit. Like that's like, I know that New York Ripper would do that like tenfold, but this is 1970. Like, and there, I think Troy Howarth mentioned that he thinks some was cut out of that, like possibly because it is particularly brutal for 1970. So far, though, the two most brutal movies of 1970 are probably Mark of the Devil, which I've seen a couple times, and I Drink Your Blood. Maybe Jonathan as well. Those movies I think have a sense of brutality to them. That's a little.
Is this your favorite Argento?
No.
Okay.
No. Tenebrae. I would put
Opera.
I would no.
I like it.
I do too. I would put Tenebrae, Suspiria, Inferno, Phenomenon over this. This is my fifth favorite.
Phenomenon.
Those five I think are all amazing, and I also think Deep Red's great. I like Deep Red. Don't get me wrong, I love Deep Red, but it's just I don't have the same connection to it as those other five because those other five I just think I've seen more and have been more connected. I've seen Deep Red a couple times. I do like Deep Red. Deep Red would be 6.
I like the Suspiria remake better than the original. I know.
I might just like blur it where we do technical difficulties. just put the cat in front like this. Yeah, but so I'm gonna have to give it. I don't even want to give my rating because we're doing the 1970 show on 22 shots, and I think if I give it, I don't even know what my favorite movie in 1970 is, to be honest. Yet, watching so many, I like a lot, and even the bad ones, I enjoy watching.
Between this and Mark of the Devil, I think I actually like this one a bit more.
Yeah.
Although I did really like
Herbert Lom
and Mark of the Devil. I'd give this one easily like a 4.5. I think it's really good. plays really quick. I don't think it's too drawn out, and I think there's enough like neat little side characters in it to kind of keep it entertaining. I especially love the antique owner and the artist, and I really like the police chief too. I thought that he was a funny character.
He's in a bunch of stuff. Like I said, he's in No, the Case is Happily Resolved, which is he's the journalist in that movie, which is funny. He plays the cop in this one, and he's also in The Savage 3, where he plays a police officer, and he's constantly in communication with Joe D'Alessandro, and he doesn't know that he is the killer that he's looking for, or maybe he does. I don't know, but he's got a good face. He's a good demeanor about
Nicholson?
him. Who? No, that was just me.
Christian Slater?
What's the difference?
Yeah.
There's a lot of difference, but what's... I mean, me doing a bad Jack Nicholson is just Christian Slater.
Right.
I wasn't my attempt at Jack Nicholson.
Okay, I didn't know. I thought that's what that was. I'm like,
no. Let me I don't even think I could do a Jack Nicholson. Let me see. He's like... what's the line in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest I like? He's like... When you rip it in half, you don't get 2 nickels. When you rip a dime in half, you don't get 2 nickels, Martini. Try smoking it that way. Some shit like that. That's about as close as I can get. What are we doing next week for your pick?
We're going to do Lilo and Stitch.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Because I'm going on vacation in like a week, so it's like, oh, we should watch a vacation movie. Not that
Why don't we
movie
just
has to do for vacation. What do you want? What do you want to watch?
A vacation. Let's just watch a real vacation movie. All right, fine. We're watching.
Yeah,
Lilo
we're
and
watching
Stitch.
it because
Next week, I'm sorry I pushed Dorian Gray back, but I'll pick it. I just had to take an opportunity to do Bird.
No, we're not doing Dorian Gray next week.
No, the week after. We're doing your
the
pick,
week
Lilo
after.
and Stitch.
Yeah, damn straight. You know, one of the best Disney movies ever made, actually. And I'm going to talk about it in depth.
Fuck Disney. Who said that? Remember that Simpsons gig? The Atlanta Falcons. Remember that shit?
No, I don't. No.
No, it was the Super Bowl episode, and they kept putting the cup in front of the mouth, like, oh, the Falcons. All right, well, we're done, right?
I guess. Are we done?
We're done.
We're done for good.
Okay, let's get into these questions and comments. Paul Quixote, love your reviews. I'm glad you covered the Bill Rebane set. I've been on the fence about picking it up. Well, let me know if you do end up picking it up and how you feel about it. Fruit Wobbler, the segment with your compadre, is that compadre or compere, was really fun. Your back and forth with him, great. The memories of watching movies with your mother was so touching. Great stuff. Thank you very much. Gorky M. I saw Pink Flamingos at a small New York City movie theater called 8th Street Playhouse back in '78. It was a midnight show and played for months and months. Punk was happening at the time, and the guy with the hair standing straight up sat right in front of me. I wanted to put a match to it. 4 years later, and I bring home a VHS copy of Pink Flamingos to show my family. They didn't talk to me for the rest of the week. Was that your kids and your wife, or your parents and your brother and sisters? Because I showed my parents when I was an adult. They watched I showed them the Manson Family. By Jim Van Bever, and I showed him Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Those two were pretty wild, but I mean, they were watching HBO nonstop, Deadwood and stuff. But Manson Family, I think, might have been pushing a little bit. They didn't say anything, though. They said it was pretty crazy. Brandon Hawkins, I enjoy watching reviews. Thank you. Nick Mua, double features can be my question of the week was a double feature that could play as two unrelated movies, like kind of like a sequel that's not really a sequel. I suggested like Night of the Living Dead, Return of the Living Dead, or Zombie, then Dawn of the Dead, kind of saying Zombie is the first of that would be cool. So Nick Mua, double features can be delicious like mac and cheese or disgusting like mixing spinach with applesauce. It's a weird thing to say. Still, I'd risk it. I would show Plague of the Zombies before Serpent and the Rainbow. Very cool. Maybe some Squire Hamilton's John Carson spells made their way into the clutches of Police Chief Dargnet Pitrade, and he decided to unleash some sweet zombie hell. It's been so long since I watched Serpent and the Rainbow. I would also show Pumpkinhead before Drag Me to Hell. Let's forget them other Pumpkinhead sequels. Lance Hendrickson sure wishes he could. Perhaps Madame Ganoush is haggis in the 21st century. Questions. What is your favorite John Waters movie? For me, it's Serial Mom. Off memory, just going, let's go Serial Mom or Pink Flamingos. I need to turn this page. Come on, Bob Seger, turn the page. If everything you touch turned into a DVD or Blu-ray, kind of like the Midas Touch, how would you proceed? Now, like, do they turn it in Blu-rays I want, or like I touch a regular person that is very like vanilla? Do they turn into like a Jerry Maguire VHS tape or something? Like, what What's going to happen? If I touch like a really cool weird person, are they going to turn into like a remastered deluxe 4K edition of like Day of the Dead? Like, I don't know. I need some answers to these. I need variables. Okay, so please name a seriously dated film that you love. So I guess people would probably consider most westerns really dated. Let me think. One that's dated that I absolutely love. Any comedy, man. Like, any comedy from the 90s is pretty rough. Like, I guess Dirty Work. Dirty Work is one of my absolute favorite movies. I don't know if it's the most dated thing ever or anything like that, but anything, really, any comedy. But Dirty Work's one of my all-time favorite movies. So, Art Figueredo, very good, thank you. The Maniac, another great video, sir. Enjoyed your talk on Pink Flamingos for all us assholes. You asshole. Love it. As for my Make Your Own Sequels double feature pick, I'd start with Nuclear Attack movie like the day after and follow it up with A Boy and His Dog. So it's like the pre-nuclear war movie and post-nuclear war movie. Very cool. I don't know if this would count, but another choice would be Abbott Costello Meet Frankenstein, followed by its sequel, The Monster Squad. I like it. Ken Coakley. I rented Pink Flamingos in 1985. My brother walked in when Divine ate the dog stuff, which was real. He saw it playing and ran into the bathroom and yacked. I saw this at my local cinema 3 years ago, as well as multiple Maniacs. It was funny gauging the reaction of the audience. The Pink Panther / Pink Flamingo story reminded me of a story of when I worked at a video store and another employee put Fritz the Cat, an X-rated cartoon, in the children's section. A mom rented it out and returned it that day. I was furious, but the lady was nice about it. We gave her a free rental. I bet. Ken Coakley also. I didn't know that William Smith passed away until you mentioned it. He had a great body of work. He found some fame as a character called Falconetti on the miniseries Rich Man, Poor Man. One movie he did that I recommend is Fast Company, starring Smith, John Saxon. It was directed by David Cronenberg. I have that on DVD and maybe even Blu-ray. Smith also appeared in 2 S.E. Hinton films, The Outsiders and Rumblefish. Yeah, he's great in Rumblefish. I haven't seen Outsiders in so long. Rumblefish, he plays the cop, if I'm not mistaken. Conan the Barbarian, Red Dawn, in which he spoke real Russian, a language he was fluent in. Yeah, of course, seen Red Dawn. CC and Company with Sid Haig, as well, Invasion of the Bee Girls and Grave of the Vampire. I'd like to watch Grave of the Vampire, the John Hayes movie. Ken Coakley, I agree with you about Invasion from Inner Earth and the Alpha Incident. While Invasion from Inner Earth was boring, it was supposed to be a secular version of a Rapture film. There is a similar movie that is action-packed called The Remaining, which came out a few years ago. People at a wedding fall dead while others panic. It had it all, including flying demons who butcher those left behind. Very cool. I really love the Alpha Incident. It's always good to see George Buck Flower. I remember when Snake Plissken, looking for the president, finds Buck with a local bracelet saying, "I'm the president," then hums "Hail to the Chief." Very funny. Buck Flower's classic. One movie he's in that nobody, they talk about it, but Which Who Came from the Sea. That's an early performance from him, and he doesn't just play your typical, "I'm Buck Flower, give me a fucking drink." You know what I mean? He plays a cop. It's a pretty good role. It's a small role, but still, it's nice seeing him. And great movie. E.C. Misio, I also get annoyed when my slips get scuffed too. I don't care about completing things like franchises or labels, but I would get super antsy when there's a slight subtle damage on a case or cover art. Haha, it's embarrassing. Pink Flamingos I never thought was all that crazy, but people keep talking about certain scenes and giving it that extreme status over the years. I'm sorry you got bitten by a chameleon. I used to catch grasshoppers as a kid, don't ask, and one of them bit me and I bled and never caught one again. You remember shit as a kid, and that's how lessons are learned. Haha. Oh, I used to catch grasshoppers all the time, to be honest. We had a field, and I caught tons of grasshoppers. One time at campground, I actually caught one, and I ripped its head off. I felt so bad. Like, you grab it, and you're just like, oh, I was only like 5 or 6. I was probably like 7 or 8. But no, I used to love catching stuff as a kid, like frogs and toads and crayfish. Used to get down to the creek and use 2 nets, lift the rock up, and pop, trap them into each other, because the crayfish will, I don't know why I'm telling you guys this, the crayfish would always look at the first net it sees, so you put one behind it and you scoop them in. Most of the time we let everything go. Some of the crayfish, like my uncle and his buddy would cook and eat, but most of the time we just let everything go, after a day, especially frogs. I tell you, just don't keep those. Amphibians are not really that easy to keep as pets, So Mark Humphreys, so here we have some more of the double feature sequel kind of idea. Evil Dead and Witchery, aka La Casa 1 and 4. Bruce Holchek, don't answer the phone in Death Wish 2. Very cool. I would love to see Nicholas Worth go against Charlie Bronson in that, because it's funny. Like they feel like they should have crossed cinematic movie pass, right? Because you have Nicholas Worth as like that sleazy killer, Kurt Smith, and Don't Answer the Phone. Charles Bronson as the vigilante in all the Death Wish movies, and even the vigilante cop in 10 to Midnight. And then you have Nicholas Worth and stuff like Ladies Club, where he plays that rape. Like they definitely could have ran across each other here or there. Scott Shermer, Romancing the Stone and War of the Roses. The Michael Douglas connection there. Sean Donahue, Fast Times at Ridgemont High and The Wildlife. Yeah, they were semi-sequels, weren't they? Corey Walter, Home Alone and The Collector/Collection. There we go. Scott Robinson, Deadly Games, a.k.a. Dial Code Santa Claus, and Silent Night, Deadly Night. Oh, so that kid grows up to be the crazy killer in Silent Night, Deadly Night. Al Blanton, The Thing in Society. I see. The alien did escape from the thing, but it had to lay low, and slowly it entered society and created its own race. Corey Walter, Stuart Little, and Willard, very funny. Andrew Martin Hogston, Ghostbusters and Hellboy. Eric Whiting, Frankenstein, 1931, and Young Frankenstein, cool. Zach Killingsworth, Night of the Comet, Earth Girls Are Easy, boom. There we go. Rebecca Reinhart, Return of the Living Dead, and Chud 2. I like that, but I would go Return of the Living Dead Part 2 and Chud 2. Sean Donahue, The Breakfast Club, and Relentless. Man, that's a fall from grace for Judd Nelson. He lost it. Cody Rapp, Combat Shock and Jacob's Ladder. War is Hell. Flesh for Frankenstein and Reanimator. He's got another one. Very cool. House and Houseu. And 1984 and Brazil. Then Adrian Michelaghi, or how do you say that? Michele, Evil Dead and Demons. Corey Walter, The Little Vampire and Love Bites, the Massacre video one. I never watched Love Bites, but I know it's a homosexual-oriented vampire movie. And The Little Vampire is a kid's vampire movie. So Alex DaVincio, Jason Lives and Hatchet. Jay Wall, Evil Dead and Demons. Don Adams, Psycho, and 3/4 of the horror movies ever made. That's the joke I referenced earlier, but he's right. Dustin Baker, I'll give you a triple. Night of the Demons, The Convent, and The Hazing. I've always seemed to watch those around each other. I actually had, as a kid, a recorded tape of Night of the Demons, Fright Night 2, and Unnameable 2. I used to watch that tape a lot. Don Adams, my favorite Star Trek episode, Return of the Archons, and all the Purge franchise. To his credit, that director is one guy who said, yeah, that's where I got it from. I see. Neil Machino, Night of the Creeps, Some Kind of Wonderful. Peter England, Smokey and the Bandit, and the Cannonball Run. The Witch, An Autopsy of Jane Doe. Peter England, by the way, Dave, and answer mine an older question you didn't mention. Pick one actor/actress, dead or alive, and put them in a dream role for a film, book, or TV show. Answer, Burt Reynolds in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That bummed me out. I would have loved to see that. Jamel Potter, Peter England. I actually chose Hooper in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as a great double feature, then remembered how much better it would have been if Reynolds didn't get replaced. Susie Ayala, Hack-O-Lantern, and Action USA. I like to think that Tommy went on to become a law enforcement. Yeah, that's right. Ben Galgos, I have a headcanon where They Live and Repo Man take place in the same universe. Why not? J.W. Knight, Hell, Living Dead, and Zombie 3. I like it. Peter England, Trilogy, The Good Shepherd, JFK, and Irishman. John Bludgeon, Demons in the Church, possibly Last House on the Left, and Night Train Murders. J.P. Andrinka, Insanitarium and the Rage, Bluebirds and Caw. Rob Kopinski, Deodato's Phantom of Death, and Carpenter's Halloween. Joachim Johansson, The Last Shark, and Jaws 3. Belinda McKay, not sure if it works, but Near Dark and the Lost Boys, or The Howling and Gremlins. Andre Scott, Friday the 13th, and The Burning. Okay, so since I covered the Go-Go Boys, the inside story of canon films, I want to know what your favorite documentary about films is. So let me know what your favorite documentary about films is. I know there's a bunch out there. So yeah, I'm going to hop into the update. Okay, so we got a quick update here. First up is Hairspray by John Waters. Did not have this movie. Never actually watched it. No, it's a classic. Yeah, it's got a nice cast in there. Divine, Deborah Harry, Ricky Lake, Jerry Stiller, Sonny Bono. Yeah, never seen it. I look forward to checking it out. I probably should watch all John Waters movies, so I'm going to get to it. I've liked everything I've seen so far. So this just came in today. Deep Cover with Lawrence Fishburne, directed by Bill Duke. Love Bill Duke. He directed that movie Hoodlum, too. It's been a long time since I watched Hoodlum. Is it Lawrence Fishburne in that one? Tim Roth? Andy Garcia. Based on a true story. It's a pretty good movie. Pretty good gangster film. And then we got Buffalo 66. Vincent Gallo, Christina Ricci. Never saw this film. So, I know it's got a big cult following. So, why the hell not? Then, finally, this stuff came from Right Stuff. This stuff was on back order, and that's fine, because I got a great price on it. These movies are usually expensive. Not this one, Shin Godzilla. This is a really great Godzilla film. Really dug this one. Had to have the actual disc. I just had it digitally, so... and this one was kind of rare. So, I mean, not rare, but it's always like $30. And I actually got it for like $20. As the God's Will by Takashi Miike. Happy to have it. I have to check that out when I get a chance. Takashi Miike movies are crazy. So, yeah, cool to have that. And this bad boy I got a good price on, too. The Wicked City anime Blu-ray. It was like $17. It's a good price for it. I've always wanted to check this one out. I hear it is absolutely insane as well. So I've never seen any of these old anime like action horror films that I've disliked. I've enjoyed almost all of them. What is it? Demon City, Vampire Hunter D1 and 2. Ninja Scroll. All of them have been really awesome. So Wicked City, I'm sure I'll dig too. So yeah, so it's a short update. I guess we're gonna hop back to the video. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching, and as always, have a good one. Kung Fu flick. I can't speak right now. Kung Fu flick. I can't say that word right now.